fact that reality is whatever your mind infers from the nerve impulses sent by your sensors, based on its model of the world, is at the heart of what makes VR different and more powerful than anything that has come before. Pick a pill and keep your eyes on it. Got it? Let's mask off everything else. Interesting. You were pretty sure that out there in the real world, one pill was red and one was blue. But they're exactly the same shade of gray. Take a good look at the blue tiles on top of the left cube. Okay, now take a good look at the yellow tiles on top of the right cube. You think those are colors you're seeing now? Let's mask off everything but those particular tiles. They're all exactly the same shade of gray. See the white tile under the desk and the black tiles just outside the desk? Again, let's mask off everything else. And again, they're both exactly the same shade of gray. But if one of them is in shadow and is that shade of gray, it must be white. And if another one is in bright light and is that shade of gray, it must be black. Your visual system does the inference for you automatically, and what you see is white and black rather than gray. Here we have a nice square checkerboard. Let's add some dots and see what happens. This happens because some line detectors fire that normally wouldn't be triggered by a checkerboard. Rather than looking orthogonal, the corners look bowed. Take a moment and figure out which of the two tabletops in blue is wider as measured in 2D and which is longer, assuming you rotated them to line up. Ready? They're exactly the same size. Fixate on the yellow dot and observe which way the black and white dots are rotating around it. Next, look at the blue dot, and while continuing to look at the blue dot, see out of the corner of your eye which way the black and white dots are going around the yellow dot now. Move your eyes back and forth, and you'll see the rotational directions change, even though they're not actually changing. If that doesn't work for you, look at either dot, then move your eyes up until you see the direction change. Of course, the straw isn't really going through the window. What's happening here is that you're making a very reasonable assumption about the world that happens to be wrong. There are a number of cues on the window that imply a perspective that doesn't exist. So your visual system infers that the window is spinning backward for half of a full rotation. As a result, the straw seems to rotate right through the window. This doesn't match any reasonable model of reality, so you end up seeing something impossible. Okay, that's just weird. Here's what's actually happening. Real objects, especially faces, tend to be convex. So your visual system assumes convexity in the absence of cues to the contrary. The only way to make that assumption work in this case is for the head to be moving in very odd ways, so that's exactly what you see. As the oracle might say, here's what's really going to bake your noodle later on. Now that you know what's happening, try to see the dragon as it really is. I bet you can't do it. A little bit of conscious knowledge isn't going to undo millions of years of evolution and a lifetime of looking at faces.
Bar, 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 bar.
Obviously, she's saying bar, bar, bar. Now let's watch a slightly different video.
Bar, 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 bar.
Here we can clearly hear her saying far, far, far. Except that she isn't. The video shows her saying far, but the audio track is still of her saying bar exactly as she did in the first video. The visual input overrode the audio. To make it crystal clear what's going on, let's look at this one more time. Once again, we'll have a soundtrack that says bar, but this time we'll have a split screen with a face saying far on one side and a face saying bar on the other. As this plays, move your eyes from one side to the other and observe how what you hear changes.
Bar, 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 bar.